Okay, all right. Let's start. Okay, so in the last class we studied about floating point numbers and we have seen the magic of it, right? And because remember that in hardware we have only zeros and ones. Okay, everything that you do on computer, whether it's running a program on, note that everything that we do in computer finally gets converted to zeros and ones. And if you see what is stored in memory or registers is nothing but sequence of zeros and ones. Okay, now it is left to the program or left to the logic to interpret it the way it wants to interpret. So this could be a C program that's also goes becomes zeros and ones. Java becomes zeros and ones. Anything, even you are watching a movie that is actually is also zeros and ones, and then it is left to interpret this sequence of zeros and ones. Okay, so similarly for floating point number we have only limited space, or for any number we have 32 bits available in each address. It's left to us what it represents. Like it can represent instruction, it can represent integer, it can also represent a floating point number. So it's nothing but same 32 bits of zeros and ones. Now it is left to instruction or the logic to interpret it appropriately. Okay, and if we improve that logic, then interpretation could be, or logic is uh, no, what I shouldn't say improved, or if the logic is proper in some sense, then interpretation could be something that we want. Okay, now here aim of floating point number is to increase the range and also increase the accuracy. Okay, because integer, if you see the integers, difference between two integer is 1, is 1 2 3 4, right? So 1 is difference, this one number is maybe quite big, there can be millions of numbers within that. How closely we can go to 0 in either side, that depends on how do we design our floating point number. Okay, so we have seen all this in the last class, so we'll not go through it all over again. Let me just scroll it this way. Okay, and then uh, we'll come to what we have discussed, which is important, was this one, right? So we have, remember that we have just 32 bits here. Okay, because we are talking right now single precision floating point number. So basically we, in 32 bits, what all numbers we can represent, that's what we are trying to do. And then we have 8 bits of exponent and 23 bits of significand and one sign bit. Okay, all right. uh, so basically it's in this form. Then one is implicit, you don't have to code this one because in all normalized number it is 1. Okay, and then what we put this x here in actually comes in significant, and y with some changes, which is with the addition of some bias. Okay, we put all those bits here. Okay, so we have seen this, we don't, all right. So this is, so we use bias notation. So, and bias is of 127, and we do this biasing, and this, how much biasing we want is totally, it depends on designer. And designers or architect of floating point number decided that floating point number should look like a, you know sign magnitude kind of number. While looking at first bit you should know whether it's positive or negative, and looking at exponent, we should know the number is bigger or smaller. Okay, all right. So now exponent, if you use 2's complement, then it becomes complicated, hence we use bias notation. Okay, With the bias, numbers are always unsigned or always 0 and positive. Okay, 0 up to whatever, all are unsigned numbers. So this is the format that we use. All right. Okay, I hope it's clear to you, right? And I'm sure you would have spent some time reading this from book or PPT. Any question you have on this concept? Do you have any question? No?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. So this is how we do the coding. So first bit is sign bit. So it will is minus 1 raised power 0, and then 1 is implicit, and all these significant bits come here. So this is actually nothing but if you calculate the value of this is nothing but 1, because these are LSB side 0, it has no value because it's after binary point. Okay, and then this is nothing but 127, and then subtract from that the bias value, because when you code this you add 127, so actual value is this much minus 127, which is equivalent to 1.1 in binary 1.1, which is nothing but 1.5 in 10. All right, so this is what we studied, and then we have seen in brief, I don't know whether we have discussed this yesterday, but there are two kinds of floating point number which have been defined by IEEE. Okay, first is single precision number, which is of 32 bit, but most of the machines now are 64 bits, so we can all so they have also defined 64-bit floating point number. So here the exponent bits are 8, but in case of double precision it is 11. Okay, and then frac or significant bits are 52. All right. Okay. There are other formats which we will not discuss, which is half precision and quad precision, which we are not going to discuss. We are discussing single precision in this class. We are also not discussing double precision because exactly similar to single precision. Okay, so this notation we have already seen. Just for your uh, understanding, we are using this. So 1 plus
So,
fraction, yeah.
so how these bits has been divided into exponent or fraction? Like in future, if we adapt 128-bit system, then how will this work? Like how many bits will be assigned to exponent
That
and
that is of course a very good question. You have to be an architect for that. You have to see what are the requirements, how much it should be. So if you look at between the single precision and double precision, the 8 bits here, you would have expected 16 bits to come here at least, right? Because double the size.
yes, sir.
But that is not the same. That's not the case, right? So it's a 52 bits here and so it totally depends on how architects feel, and then note that for any standardization it's not one person, it's a group of people decide based on some logic. Sometimes there's no logic, but still they decide based on some kind of you know some companies may dominate in the standardization bodies, etc., etc. So there is always some degree of what do you call that, non fairness. Okay,
Okay, sir.
unfairness.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. So basically, as a designer, you'll have to think what should be appropriate, and what kind of what range of numbers want to uh, you know you want to represent. What should be accuracy? Based on that, some decision is taken. Okay. Uh, so basically, what are you playing with? Range versus accuracy, right? All right. So this gives you accuracy. More significant bits, you are more accurate. You can be more bits here is higher the number that you can represent. So you have to play between the two and then decide. Okay, all right.
Okay, sir.
So here, we are using two terms, precision and accuracy, and these are not the same, or of course they are connected though. So precision in floating point numbers, we define a single precision or double precision in terms of number of bits available to represent both exponent part and significant path. Okay, accuracy. So okay, so precision is nothing but number of bits. Accuracy is a measure of difference between actual value of the number and the computer representation. How accurate is representation of the number in computer? That defines accuracy. Okay, because understand that we have just 32 bits or 64 bits available. Not everything can be represented. Then how closely we are representing those numbers is something that defines accuracy. Okay, not all numbers we can always represent. For example, we can't represent value of pi very accurately in computer. Okay, whether single precision or double precision. All right. So in general, but we can say higher precision permits higher accuracy. If there is higher precision here instead of 32 to 64, then some numbers can be more accurate. Okay, but in general, we cannot say always for all the cases. Okay, there may be cases where accuracy is the same in single precision and double precision. All right. So far we have discussed only a normal case, normalized case, right, where we have few things we have noticed that there is 1 here and then exponent can't be 0. It is always positive. Okay. So now let's.
Sir, does computer does the round off also?
Yeah, of course. I mean, rounding of error is always there, but I don't know whether here rounding what is rounding off. It must be if number of bits calculated is more than these are to be stored, bits will be singly discarded. That's all the rounding error is. Okay, because there are significant number of bits, right? So what are you going to round off here? So there will be rounding off error, because if there are more bits in significant, for example, then you can actually represent, instead of 23, your calculation has maybe 30 bits, but you have to put only most significant 23 bits. The remaining are to be discarded. That's all the rounding error could be. Okay, but what is the calculation for rounding off? I don't think there is any. Just you need to simply discard the something which are extra bits. Okay, that's what my understanding is. You just Google it and find it out if there is another answer. Okay, so this case we have discussed. Okay, where exponent value is between 1 and FE. Okay, actually we have not discussed these points, but note that these are the normal numbers, right? But where exponent is between 1 and FE. FF is the highest one, right? Okay, so we have discarded what? We have discarded 0, 0. We have not considered, and then FF. Now these become very special cases. So let's look at the first one now. Okay, so now we need to represent 0. For example, using normalized method, if normalized method, okay, if all bits are 0, then the value of this number is 1.0 into 2 raised power 1 minus 127, because this is 0 and minus bias to that is, so this is not 0, and this is because of this implicit 1 that's here. Okay, then we say that if all 32 bits are 0, it means a not, then it has to be treated as a 0. It's a special case. Okay, all right. Okay, so if if all bits in exp and significant are zeros, then it is 0, and then sign bit could be positive or negative, or 0 and 1. Okay, so basically we have two zeros, plus 0 and minus 0. We have representation for both. All right. So it's so usually we code it as all zeros as 0. So this case is also done. So we have represented 0. Now what happens if exponent is 0 and significant is non-zero? Then we need to represent something, right? Now the question is that how do you represent very small number? Which are the, look at now in the normal case, let's see the what is the nearest number closest to 0. So we can see that it is 1 dot, so 1 is there in normalized number and all zeros, then 2 raised power 1 minus 127. Note that it is, this has to be, for exponent cannot be 0, because if 0, then it's treated differently. It's a 0. Okay, so it has to be 1 then, and then you subtract from that bias. So this is the smallest number that we can represent using this normal number method, right? So it is then 1.0 into 2 raised power minus 126, or it is 2 raised power 1 minus 126. And then what is the next number that we can represent? That's the next to a. Then it will be 0, 0, 0, 1, and then exponent remains the same. Okay, because this is the smallest number that we can have in exp. So next to, yeah, so then it becomes 2 raised power minus 126 plus 2 raised power minus 149. So difference is 2 raised power minus 149. A subsequent number will also have this difference. Okay, so these are the gaps. So now what do you want to do if you want to represent a number which is smaller than this one, 2 raised power minus 126. So this is 2 raised power minus 126, and this is 0, and there is a gap here. Okay, similarly it's on the negative side also, this gap. Then what do? Okay, so there is a gap between 0 and a, which is 2 raised power 126. So now we can create another special case. Okay, and in order to do that, we have to say that there is all this is coming because of this implicit 1. If implicit 1 is not, because the moment implicit 1 is there and rest are 0, then it becomes 2 raised power minus 126. So we have to do something about this implicit 1. So now we change it to 0. Okay, so now we define a case where exp is equal to 0. It means that the value will be this, minus 126. Okay, here we have taken is 1 because it's next number. So exp is equal to 0 and significant is non-zero. Okay, and these are called denorm number. Okay, so let's look at example, then it will become clear. So there is no leading one. Okay, and note that there's a difference between this and the first one is 2 raised power minus 126. Okay, so now we have to take different bias here. Instead of 127, we take bias as 126. Now note that you can choose the bias depending on your case. Okay, and because you have to do the both process, it's again interpretation, right? If you use a bias and represent this in floating point representation, when you are actually doing the calculation out of it, you have to do the reverse process, right? So all right, so now it will be something like this. So the smallest denorm now is, note that the 0 will come here. Okay, and then we have 0, 0, 0, and last bit is 1, and this number is the same. So this is 2 raised power 0, because the exp we are taking as 0 here in this case, minus 126. So bias is now 126. Okay, so this is 2 raised power minus, answer is the 2 raised power minus 149. Okay, now you can get this is the closest to 0 that we can represent with 32-bit number. Next will be this one plus this plus similar number right here. This will be the next number to this smallest denorm, and so on. And the largest will be when all these bits are 1, and this is of course 2 raised power minus 126. So this will be the largest denorm number. All right. And where is the smallest norm number? Normal number is this one. So what happens is that now between 0 and a, which is equal to 2 raised power minus 126, you have all these values available with a gap of 2 raised power 149. Okay, actually you can calculate the number of values that will be there. All right. Any question?
So how do we represent the smallest norm number? Because that exponent will be same, but then with that exponent we say that it is denorm, right?
Yeah, but what condition we have taken? We have taken that significant is going to be non-zero. Earlier, if in the case of 0, significant was also 0. So that is okay. We'll come to the diagram next, right? And then we'll see what are different cases, right? So here, what we have shown, significant, first case significant is 0. So this is the first case, normal case, right? Wherein exponent can be 0. Sorry, exponent cannot be 0. And then significant can be anything. And in case when represent 0, then everything has to be 0, exponent as well as significant. Okay, in case of denorm number, we have exponent as 0, but significant can be non-zero. Okay, and then we have to see the next two conditions, which are special cases, which is when exponent is ff and significant is 0, then it represents plus minus infinity. Okay, and we have seen the reason why we want to represent infinity, because there may be sometimes in calculation division by 0, we may have to represent by a number. Okay, note that this is just a representation. Okay, and then when exp is ff and significant is non-zero, then we say this is a none, not a number. All right. So these are the cases that we have. All right. The rest of things are just explanation of what we have discussed so far. So what are the cases that we have discussed? We have seen these are the most of the time we are going to use this. These are normal. Then we represent 0 by all zeros. Okay. Then we have denorm number, which is between 0 and then the closest norm number that we can represent. So values in between that. And then we have, if we have to represent plus minus infinity, we use these two notations, these two values. And if we use these two values, which is exponent is ff, but significant non-NF, then we say this is not a number. You know, we may have to represent something, and then we have to say this is not a number, then we can assign these values. There may be program logic, which wherein you have to code NaN. Otherwise, there was nothing. In a normal integer number, you can't really represent an NaN value. Okay. Any question?
Sir, why did we change bias to 126 for denorm numbers?
So I will give you an exercise. Try doing it. See, you are doing one operation. You can, when you do bias, it means that you have to add that to the value and then reverse it, right? Try doing it with 127. Because you have to get the value in certain ranges. Okay, and just do it as an exercise. It's very intuitive and good question. So I always thought about it. So just try doing it and you get the answer of that. Note that this is a design. Okay, and what are we doing? We are look at the increments that we are getting. Okay, what are the increments that we have decided? 2 raised power in that case, and you see, is there any connection between the two? And then you get the answer, right? Right. So small. This is the one that you get as sorry, this yeah. So using this, what you get is this one. All right. Try doing it with something else and see, you may come up with a better scheme. Okay. See, again, as I said, there is a design. Okay, and I mean, we can always say that, for example, why not use 2's complement number? Why not use sign bit in exponent part? But we have not seen all the cases, whether it's going to help us in calculation or not. Okay, all right. So let's look at limitations. If the result of a calculation is more than 120 is 2 raised power 128, then there will be overflow. Okay, we cannot represent then, right? Exponent larger than 128 cannot be represented. So the condition is called overflow. Okay, similarly, there is underflow. If it's less than the number is, we want to represent a number which is less than 2 raised power 149, then the condition is called underflow. Okay, so this is what between underflow we define under this region. Okay, is underflow, and something more than this side 2 raised power 120 is overflow. Similarly, something less than 2 raised power 128 is again overflow on negative side. Okay, and if result runs off the end of significant, because significant has only limited number of bits and your calculation more than that, then rounding off error happens, and rounding off is usually by discarding rest of the bits, only significant side. Okay, all right. And second thing is that the FP addition is not associative because of rounding errors. Okay, so we can say there is a number which small, add it to big, add it to small. This is not same as if you do this addition and then addition with the big one, because of all these errors that you can get, right? And you can try it out. Okay, say for example, despite being is surely quite accurate, but still it cannot represent all integers, right? So if you do this calculation, then you will get this result, and try what should be right result in that case. It is again because of surely if you calculate by pen and pencil, this will not be this value will not come. Okay, all right. So this example we have seen already. Okay, and so we'll not go to it. So at the backup you will find number of slides which I think I've used it last year's presentation, so you can look at these. Okay, so basically this chart will give you in terms of denormalized number and normalized number and so on, right? All right, and try to interpret why that is so, what is exactly happening, why people have designed in a particular way. Okay, all right, any question?
No, sir.
All right, so let's then move into next presentation. Just a minute, I will stop share. Okay, and also I will change the sharing. Okay, let me just see if I can stop the recording.